Set 9.5 introduced a ton of new items, from new vanilla items like Night Harvester to new support items like Banshee's Veil. And in this video we'll cover all of that and explain how to use each of these items and explain which champions you want to put these on. Items are now in 4 buckets: vanilla or core items, which are the standard items you make with standard components, radiant items, which are just stronger vanilla items, artifacts, which are previously known as ord items, and lastly, support items. The big difference with support items is that they make everyone else stronger, as opposed to vanilla, radiant, and artifact items, which make just the wearer stronger. Because of this rework, 6 vanilla items were swapped out, and instead we have these 6 new items. Crown Guard is replacing Locket and will now give the holder a giant shield and then AP once the shield breaks. This is a hybrid item, as it gives survivability and AP stats. Typical champions that want this are Katarina, Nico, Echo, Shen, and Swain. All these champions have great AP scaling and are also melee units. In other words, don't put this on a champion that is ranged and or scales better with AD. Even Shroud is replacing Zephyr and works exactly like Ionic Spark, but it shreds armor instead of MR. This will be great in comps where you need armor shred, but you can't build Last Whisper or Tekken Freljord. The best holders will be tanks like Shen, Nautilus, and Nasus, but overall you will be fine placing this on any tank. Starex Gage is replacing Zeke's Herald and works similarly to Crown Guard but for AD. Instead of getting the defensive shield at the start, you will get extra max HP and AD once you drop below 60% HP. The key difference with this item is that you almost always want to pair it with a healing item, so that you can heal back up and get even more value from the max HP. This is great on all melee AD carries like Fiora, Graves, Kiana, Rek'Sai, Bel'Veth, and Nyla. Night Harvester is replacing Shroud and is one of my favorite new items. When you drop below 60% HP, you will deal more damage for the rest of the fight. This item is also well paired with a healing item, or on champions with natural sustain. It's also fantastic on any rogue, as they dash and drop aggro once they drop below 50% HP, meaning they will always get that increased damage after they dashed. Besides the rogues, great holders are Fiora, Rek'Sai, Mordekaiser, and Kai'Sa. Nashor's Tooth is replacing CC Rot and works similarly to Rageblade and RFC. You get a ton of attack speed, but only after you've casted your spell. This item is great on units that either have relatively low mana, or on units that get a ton of power right after they've casted their spell. These are champions like Aesir, Mordekaiser, Silco, and Aphelios. All of these either have relatively low mana pools, or they become a lot more powerful right after they cast their spell. Adaptive Helm is replacing Chalice, and is very unique. It has 2 different versions depending on if you backline or frontline the holder of the item, just like how the trait Strategist works. This item is currently overpowered on patch 13.8b, which is the current patch as I'm writing this video, and it's incredibly powerful due to the flexibility it has. The tank stats it gives is 70 in total, which is about as much as Bramble and Declaw gives. The AP and mana it gives is also really nice. 10 mana every 3 seconds is great for champions with around 40 to 60 mana, as it makes them get around 40 mana for 3 auto attacks, due to the attack speed being a bit lower than 1. This combined with the good defensive stats makes it one of the best items to slam in the entire game, as it'll always be a useful frontline item, and if you are playing a comp with a lot of spellcasters, it'll be useful late game as well. The best holders of the item are any tanks when in the frontline, and when in the backline, the best holders are Silco, Ahri, Vel'Koz, Misfortune, Malzahar, Soraka, and Sona. We also have a ton of new support items, but some are returning, like Cicerot, Zeke's, Zephyr, Shroud, Locket, and Chalice. These work mostly the same way as before, besides some minor tweaks, like Zeke's, Chalice, and Locket now buff 5 people instead of 3. We also have some items that have been in TFT previously, like Needlessly Big Gem, Randuin's Omen, and Obsidian Cleaver. These all work the exact same way, but to refresh your memory, place Needlessly Big Gem on a backliner that is not your main carry, so that the 15 seconds actually go off. This item is incredibly powerful in stall comps like Bastion and Aphelios. Randuin's Omen makes all adjacent allies tankier, but make sure to not sacrifice positioning, as you can get punished heavily when playing against Jarvan or Silco, especially if you've clumped up your entire team due to this item. An Obsidian Cleaver wants to be placed on a backliner you have next to your carry to shred armor and MR for them. This will typically be your secondary carry. The completely new support items are Aegis of the Legion, Banshee's Veil, Crest of Cinders, and Virtue of the Martyr. Aegis is a bit complicated, but it basically works like a backwards shroud. It will buff the 2 adjacent units and all units behind. In this example, if you place the item on Cho'Gath, it will buff all positions where Graves is placed. The buff it gives is attack speed, armor, and MR to everyone it hits for 8 seconds. This item is overall great in comps that have quick fights like vertical bilgewater and challengers. Also, like I mentioned with Randuin's Omens earlier, make sure to not clump up your team too hard if you are against large AoE CC or damage. Banshee's Veil works similarly to the old Banshee's Claw from set 5, 6, and 7. Before its item recipe was replaced by Guardbreaker. It gives the holder and 2 adjacent allies a QSS, only that it doesn't give the extra stats. This is incredibly powerful late game, as you don't have to worry about big CC threats like Jarvan and Sion, but it's very weak early on, so only pick this if offered on stage 4 or later. I haven't seen Crest of Cinders in game yet, although it is included in wikis online as a support item, so I'll include it in this video. This item works just like Red Buff from set 1, 2, and 3. That is a long time ago now, so I don't know how many of you will remember it, but this item will give this effect to the holder and its 2 adjacent allies. The effect will burn the enemy champions when they are hit by the allies' auto attacks, meaning they deal some true damage based on max HP, and also applies grievous wounds, which reduces their healing. You definitely want to take this against bruiser comps, and comps that have a lot of 3 stars, or comps that are heavily reliant on healing. Lastly, Virtue of the Martyr heals your team every 5 seconds, and it's percent healing, which makes it even more powerful if you are running units with high HP like bruisers or 3-star units. But the effect is doubled when the holder of the item dies, so you want to put this on your weakest or most exposed tank. And if you want to see more guides like this, you can check out my profile over on Tactor to see more of my written guides over there. And this video should be up there as a written guide later on. Thank you so much for watching. If you learned something, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. If you want cheat sheets for any of my comp guides, they're available for you to members and patrons, and the links to join those are down in the description. And if you want to get better at TFT, join the Discord. We got over 9,000 other players there who are hungry to climb. And if you want to get coached by me, the information is over on the Discord server as well. So take care and see you in the next video.